Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Snyder, the dental director of the St. Vincent de Paul Charity Dental Clinic here in South Phoenix, Arizona, and welcome to another episode of The Happiness Factor. Now, in the past, I've mentioned what I call the God-given gifts of humor, laughter, and play, and today I'd like to focus on play a little bit. In fact, I call this session the fundamentals of play. Let me tell you something right off the bat. When it comes to play, we're all messed up. In Western civilization, when people get together to play, they play the way they've been taught to play, competitively. Now, this isn't the natural way, but this is the way we've been taught. And no matter how well intended, that's how we play. Um, Frank Shorter, one of the premier runners of my generation, in fact, he won an Olympic gold medal for the marathon in 1972. He said that the people he feared running against the most were the Africans, because he said there we were from the Western civilization countries, and we're on the starting line, and we're trying to psych ourselves up, and we're trying to, bear down and, get focused. And he said there they were, moments before the gun went off, they were laughing and joking and having a good time. And it dawned on him that that they enjoyed running. And he said, for us, it was more like work or a task or something we had to do. They enjoyed it. Win or lose, they enjoyed the running. There's a tribe in Mexico. It's called the Tarahumara tribe. And they're a group of indigenous people of the Americas living in the state of Chihuahua in Mexico. And they are noted for their long distance running. In fact, several of them have come to the US and actually done quite well in these, not only the marathon runs, but what they call the ultra runs, the ultra marathon runs, where some of them are 50 miles or 75 miles or 100 miles or more. And where all of our runners tend to have, and our top runners compete in these, tend to have these special shoes, $500 shoes, and the heels and the soles are just right and everything's engineered. They run in sandals. They're bare feet in sandals. And they do surprisingly well, and they outdistance many of our runners, actually. But if you want to read a good book, and it mentions this tribe in the book, and it mentions kind of the how many different tribes throughout the world and indigenous people or people in general just enjoy running and how good they are at it, I highly recommend that you read a book. It's called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. And, here's the thing. We enjoy the accomplishment, the accomplishment. Hey, I did it. Wow, look at me. Wow. Where they actually enjoy the running. Big, big difference. So this concept of whether it's play or work, that we need to work harder, we need to achieve more, there's a turning point where it actually can become debilitating. Buckle down, nose to the grindstone, rev it up. Things like, for example, bear down, we hear this all the time. This might give us a win in the short run, but in the long run, it's a disaster. You can't run a marathon with your toes clenched. Taking time to find out how to make it fun, how to enjoy what we're doing, how to make it play, if you will, sometimes can be the best thing. In fact, most times can be the best thing we can do to increase productivity, to increase morale, to increase the quality of the work. But unfortunately, a lot of times in Western civilization, it's the last place we tend to look. So there's a message here. You don't have to win every time to be a winner. The real winners are the ones who enjoy what they're doing, win or lose. Years ago, when I was doing workshops throughout the country, I remember I was in New York at one time, and one of the headlines was that at a Pee-wee hockey game, one dad actually got a gun and shot and killed another dad, all over the competitiveness of their two sons down there competing on the ice. I did a workshop in Roswell, Georgia, and they actually had a rule at that time where parents were banned from attending Little League games because they got so out of hand. So my definition of play, and I'd like you to think about this, but my definition of play is any activity you enjoy just for the sake of doing it. It doesn't matter how it turns out. For example, let's say you play tennis and you meet someone after work to play tennis. And you go down there at the tennis court, and you hit it around. And whenever you get back in the car, You feel better emotionally. You feel better mentally, physically, because you got some exercise. But it didn't matter whether you won or lost. You were with a friend. You enjoyed it. That's play. On the other hand, if you go to play tennis and the next thing you know, you're mad because you hit one out of bounds or it hit the net and you're upset and you throw the racket and you get in the car and you're in a worse mood than you were when you started. And usually it'll carry out throughout the rest of the evening. That's not play. That's competition. And I have nothing against competition. I played sports competitively in high school and in college and even afterwards for quite a while. And that's great. But we all need activities that are just play in our lives. And so one of the things I would have you do is I would have you make a little list, and number 1 to 20. And I want you to write down 20 playful things that you can do. And, some of them, in fact, usually what I would do in my workshops, I tell people over half of them have to cost $5 or less, maybe nothing. And again, play is any activity you enjoy. It could be planting a garden. It could be reading to your grandchild. It could be taking the dog for a walk. It could be painting. 2 of my children growing up, my oldest daughter was very talented, art-wise, very talented. But for everything she painted or drew, if she did 10 of them, she didn't like 9 of them and ripped them up. My oldest son, on the other hand, he would draw all these little caricatures and cartoons, and the quality, by my estimation of most people's, wasn't nearly that of hers, but he enjoyed every one that he drew. He hung it on a little bulletin board in his room. So for him, artwork was play. For her, it was not. So anyway, 20 playful things you can do, and at least half of them have to cost $5 or less. They can cost nothing. One of the things my wife Joanna and I used to do some years ago when we first got married, and I actually heard about this in a workshop, it wasn't my original idea, but we would go to the mall and we would each take $5. And $5 was worth more in those days than it was today. But we'd split up for an hour and each would have to find little gifts or trinkets, or it could be a little book or any neat little thing that you wanted to give to the other person. And the total could not come to over $5. And and you had to bring your receipts to the lunch, would go to lunch and get a dessert, only a dessert in those days. But we would, whoever got the closest to $5 without going over, and you had to show your receipts, got to pick the dessert. And so it's just kind of like a fun little game, and just take an afternoon at the mall and enjoying stuff. And it only cost us $10 and dessert. In workshops, people would give me great ideas. One lady, she and her daughters, or actually it was her originally by herself on the way to work. And then later they started doing with the daughters on different weekends and that. But what she would do on every Friday on the way to work, there was this one jam up in the city, where 2 lanes came together, and there was always a jam up and people would get angry and mad. You could see it on their faces. You could hear the horns. And she would take, one of those little plastic jars of bubble material and a little bubble blower, and she would roll down the window. While they're sitting in traffic, she would blow bubbles out the window. And she said people, it just changed their attitude. And as at different times she might run into the same car at the intersection or at where they merged, and they would wave to her and they were anticipating it. And so just kind of a fun thing. Another thing she did later, she would take every Friday, she and her daughter, she had some young daughters, they would go to Hardee's, which is a hamburger joint, and they would put money in the jukebox and sing to the oldies. And she said a lot of times most of the people in the restaurant would start singing with them. And so again, it was play. It just brought some joy. So anyway, what I want you to do is to make your list, 20 playful things. And then what you need to do is each and every day, you need to put one of those activities in your life. Just as we need, life's pretty simple. I mean, to live a fruitful life, to live a happy life, to live an enjoyable and a healthy life, there's only a few things we need to do, really. We need proper exercise, we need proper sleep, proper nutrition, and daily doses, not just when we can squeeze them in, but daily doses of humor, laughter, and play in our lives. So I gave you a couple assignments there, and I hope you'll get busy and follow through on them. If you would like to help us with our mission at the St. Vincent de Paul Charity Dental Clinic, you can see as we wind it up, you can see below how you can do that, the website, how you can go on and donate. If you choose to do so, please mention you heard about it on the Happiness Factor. And until next time, be true to your teeth, and they won't be false to you. Take care.